Hey guys, welcome to a development session of film. Today we're going to develop a BERGGER PANCRO 400 film, which is a very specific, super grainy film, which will be developed with the Kodak Hc 110 developer. And those who don't know about this developer, this is a concentrated developer, meaning that you cannot just use it directly with the film. You need to dilute it with certain amount of water. Now, question is first, how you mix this one with water, and how much do you need? And many questions like, do you create like a 1 liter of the stock solution and then use it for future, or you can just use it on the spot, selling that a certain amount of developer with a certain amount of water, and then use it and then move on. For me, I think ideally I want to use just a small amount of liquid with the water instead of making a whole stock, because I don't know when I'm going to develop my next film. And if I do that, I don't necessarily have to still create a whole amount of stock, only because that I like to have this freedom, because when you actually have to finish certain film developer at certain period of time, it's kind of pressure. It's not fun anymore, so you don't have the flexibility. I like to have this flexibility. That means I would like to prepare my stock on the spot and then develop it and move on. So in this particular, because when you buy this, you're gonna have things written, as you can clearly see, which, to simplify it, it shows you different type of mixing, meaning that is A, B, C, D, E, F. And what happens that to simplify it, A is the most concentrated of the bunch, followed by you add more water. What happens, your development time gets longer, which some people loves it. For me, I'm a fast guy, so I would rather use A, but to be the safe side, B is the best compromise, meaning that it's not really that fast, but it's not that long either. And so how much do you need? How you mix liquid of HC 110 to develop one film? For one film, normally you need, I think I have just about right, you need about 300 milliliter of water. Now, that's too much. What I'm going to do, I'm going to actually reduce just a little bit. Now I have about approximately 291 milliliter of water. So to make 300, you need about 9 milliliter of this. So for 9 milliliter, I would go, I would take a syringe. So give me a second. I have this syringe right here, which about 10 milliliters. So I'm gonna go all the way to 9 at the very top or bottom from your side, depends. Basically 9 milliliters, and mix with it. So that's how you do. So this is the first time I'm actually opening the container, so I'm gonna put that on the side. This is my film BERGGER PANCRO already loaded inside, which is fantastic. So one job is done. I did it for you so that I don't have to do that while video is rolling. So I'm going to open that, followed by, thing is that this paper, this little piece of paper that I'm just taking off, should be inside. It should stay inside. It shouldn't be out, because that's how you protect your developer. Now, the second part, I'm gonna put that on the side, that inside the cap, you have like a little thing which you push it and twist it. So it kind of helps you to cut the top of it. Right? There you go, it's done. Now, showtime. Beam. So you're gonna go all the way to the top. And you know that this type of development process takes longer. Sometimes I ask myself question why even I'm doing this, because it takes like forever. Thing is, it's photography aside, it's like me doing a baking. Oops, it's not that. Doing a baking on my day off. Do you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like, of course, I'm making a video, so which means I'm gonna stop talking, and then, all right, it's not enough. I'm gonna take some more. Nice. So I've got exactly 9 milliliter of developer. So there you go. So I'm gonna do. So essentially, you know, you have to be careful in this, because I'm going to use the same syringe for different type of chemicals. So in order to avoid contamination, you should, you know, pull it up with the normal water and then put it back. There you go, done. And put it on the side. So yeah, what I was gonna say, it is that, you know, it's like baking at home, which gives me really kind of like a peace in my mind. Like, you know, staying at home, doing something and creating stuff. Right. And what the mistake I've done, which is you shouldn't do, which is, you know, get some little bit of towel or something like that to wipe things off. So I'm gonna mix properly. So, second question, how long you need for developing BERGGER PANCRO 400, which is already loaded inside the tank? You need about 8 minutes for 24 degrees. So at this point, I do have 22 degrees. So I'm talking in Celsius. I'm not talking in Fahrenheit. I'm sorry, guys. I'm in Europe, and that's all I know. So for 22 degrees Celsius temperature, you need about 8 minutes of development. Now, moving on. Here is the second important thing. You always should wear gloves. So I'm gonna go and then get my gloves so that, you know, I stay healthy. I mean, fun is fun, but you gotta be careful. So give me one moment. I'm gonna get my gloves. Right, I'm gonna put some gloves on, which I should have done at the very beginning, but you know, because I don't do film developing all the time, so there's certain micro things that I tend to forget, and this is one of them. Now here comes my my gloves. Now, as I said, you need 8 minutes of development process for 22 degrees Celsius of temperature to develop a BERGGER PANCRO. I'm gonna push it a slightly little longer, and what I'm going to do, this is my little touch of recipe. I'm going to actually add about 10 milliliter of water, even more. Now you're asking why I'm doing it. So each photographer has their own kind of secret technique. This is one of my many techniques. I always add a little bit more water than usual in any kind of developer. That allows me to kind of compensate the variation of the atmosphere and the temperature. Does it work? So far it worked for me. So it normally should work according to my previous test. So I'm gonna put my thermometers on the side. So I'm going to open the container. It's nicely sealed, don't worry about it. Now I'm going to put my mixing thing on the side. I'm saying thing because I don't even know how it goes. And make sure that the minute it's ready. And it's ready. I'm going to push it all the way in. And now, counting down about 8 minutes. So as I said, I'm gonna push it a little bit longer. That's why I add a little bit water. Now, normally you should agitate it for 1 minute. 30 seconds, my apologies. Now, while we are agitating that, I would like to say something that will permit me to talk about a subject, which is end of professional photography. Now, instead of making you jump through all the way to the end of 8 minutes, why not just talk about this subject, because I think that we can all relate to this problem. I don't know if it's a problem, but I think it is. And you're gonna keep seeing me looking down because I've got my chronometer, so I have to make sure that I'm talking but without missing out the agitation process in 10 seconds for each minute. Professional photography is declining. The reason why it's declining is because the smartphone. As a matter of fact, can you believe that I'm making whole video with my smartphone, which is not even the highest level of the smartphone. It's a Samsung A52s, which cost about 400 euro. Can you imagine? For 400 euro of a camera, it's doing actually a fantastic job, because think about it. I've got a story because this is a tutorial and I have enough light coming from each side. I've got all my tools. Only thing is missing, it's myself or the person. So if I'm good enough to present myself to you or to the audience, then generally speaking, for the home video or for tutorial video, you have all the things you need. Now that's the video part. Photography part, you and me, we all know that the cameras are really advanced in a smartphone. So everybody has a camera and everybody can take more or less the same photo like the professional photographer. Now that's a bad news for a photographer, because before the reason why the existence of professional photography is because camera was not available to everybody like today. Now everybody has a camera, at least. Okay, good photo and bad photo, that's a whole different story. But my point is, you had someone who knew how to take good photos. So at least take photos with a tool and a team. And now you just take it out your smartphone and take a shot, more or less the same as the professional photographer. The bokeh, the editing, the film look, that all of those orange and teal is can be done in a smartphone. Like it or don't like it, it is possible. And also, most of the photos are going straight to internet, most likely social media. From the smartphone, you can do exact same thing. So to summarize it, your smartphone can take pretty decent photos with the computational software, can do edit, can do management, can geotag your location, and post it on internet pretty much on the spot, on the same day, if not the same hour, while the professional photographer has to come home and then do all the edit. And this actually taking away a lot of business out of the professional photographer, unless you are a well-known photographer, everybody knows you, and who doesn't like a celebrity photographer at the wedding? Do you know what I mean? So unless you are one of those people, just for majority, professional photography is not the thing anymore, I'm afraid. Videography though, that's a different story, because now you are moving towards capturing video, motion pictures with drones, with super cool and amazing Panasonic or Nikon cameras, or Sony, or any camera. To be honest with you, today we all reached the peak. So my point is that videography, that's a whole different story. But photography, to capture image, still image, that's a bad news. That being said, hey, so one thing a smartphone cannot replace from a traditional proper camera, which is first and foremost telephoto. So generally speaking, it's awesome and very useful to have a telephoto of minimum 70 to 200, meaning that it's not about the background blur, because actually the smartphone can do your background blur, but it's the compression, because telephoto doesn't have a distortion, so it doesn't look a fake blur behind you. First. Second, you don't really need to go up close and personal to the person to take the image. You can actually be really far and take some amazing moment without interrupting your subjects or anybody. You can be very discreet and then take image from far, and that's one whole of a advancement. And I'm talking specifically about the professional photography in the wedding or event. I'm not talking about sports professional photography or wildlife professional photography. Let's do my 1 second last of hesitation. So for the wedding professional photography, you need, unfortunately or fortunately, a person who are always ready all the time with a telephoto, so that they can capture the moment from far. From that point of view, professional photography still matters. So basically, wide angle is not a thing anymore. But unfortunately, if you're at the location, you kind of have to show up with your wide angle and telephoto. You cannot just say that, hey guys, you guys have a smartphone, so you take your photos and I'm just gonna use my telephoto and do just that. No, you kind of have to still take all the images, like it or don't like it. I reached just about at the last second, so I'm gonna do my last hesitation and then put back my developer. Now, there's two things. I got my vinegar water as a stopper, so I'm gonna stop it. Now you must be wondering, can I reuse this stock for the next development? Of course you can. So I'm most likely gonna keep it for the test, because I'm very curious how long it going to last. But now it's in an open bright light, so I don't know. I really don't know. So finish the conversation about what I was saying earlier, that except an extreme case, or unless you're famous, unless you are well known in your area, unfortunately, for event, any kind of event, or especially wedding or birthdays or conferences, videography is still very relevant, even though everybody has a video camera too. But you need some kind of like a skill for editing, and that's another territory. But photography, unfortunately, it's not like in the past. That I don't know if you noticed that in the market today, if you go and then try to buy a cheap DSLR or cheap low-cost mirrorless, it's not available almost anymore. Most of them are actually a little bit more expensive. Good quality, but more expensive. The reason why the camera company realized that they need to cut cost and they need to sell a camera at the higher price, so they have to reduce a number of camera and then just sell good products. good products in a sense of good products, high price, so that they can recover. Instead of selling 2 cameras to make profit, they need to make same profit selling 1 camera. So, you know, you get the idea. Anyway, nice talk. Now I'm going to throw away this stopper in my sink because that's vinegar, so that's not bad for environment. That being said, it's mixed with a little bit of a developer, so I hope that it's not gonna make a bad impact on the environment. All right, now my development is done. Here's the old developer. I stopped the film. Last thing is needs to be done is fixing it with, I have the Tetanol Super Fix. That being said, here's the interesting part. This has been with me forever, so that means that I'm not sure that it still works or not. How you are going to know whether or not this thing works? There's a little technique that I'm going to show you. First, I'm going to look at the instruction, and it says for 1 part of Superfix, you need 4 parts of water, which means that here I've got 1 part. So 1 part, I'm going to add, let's say 400 milliliter. So I'm going to put that on the side so that you can see, making some noise, that's fine. And it stinks, by the way. Whew, it does stink. So I'm going to add, there you go, about 40 milliliter of fixer. Now, which I'm going to add in 4 times of 400, 160. Aha! So maybe it's ideal if I mix a little bit more. The reason behind, because I need to match 300 milliliter approximately. So I added 50 milliliter of the fixer. So 4 times is 200. So I need 200 milliliters of water. I have more, so I'm going to reduce a little bit to achieve 200 milliliter of water. That's fine. Now I'm going to add all my fixer right there. Wash a little bit. Now, how do you know that it's going to work without putting that inside and then see it for yourselves? I've got a little piece of film that I cut, there you go, which I cut before putting my film inside the container. So that piece of film, you drop it right there and it should get completely transparent. And if there is a change, which it should in about 3 to 4 minutes, then you are good. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of change already. At the back, it's actually changed the color. And that means that it's acting as it should. But to be absolutely sure, you can actually leave it for longer to see whether or not it's working. For me, I'm happy with the result that is reacting to it. Now, time for the fixing, about 4 to 5 minutes. In that case, I'm going to turn on my stopper and then wait for a while. At this point, you don't need to really protect the whole thing because it's all good. I mean, you should be fine, like largely fine. I can guarantee you that. The reason why I'm doing it in this side is because that now when you turn it, there's a good chance that the majority of the water will capture the most of the film. So you can do that and then stay in the middle, and you can do that too. So you can keep doing it. So instead of doing 4 minutes of the development, I'm going all the way to the 5 minutes. The reason behind which is because, you know, it actually, ideally, you should do longer development for longer fixing for any kind of film, but especially for BERGGER Pancro, because it's like a double emulsion, which means that it has a lot of more silver halide, and ideally you should actually take more time to do fixing. All right, so normally it should be fine, but I'm excited to see the result because this is the first time I use the developer with BERGGER Pancro, and I took some interesting photos of interesting location, but I hope that they're gonna appear on my film. Otherwise all the work would be a little bit of a waste of time. So woo, I'm excited. You have to be careful with that because, you know, it's just splashed on my face. So my film look thin. So if my film's looking thin, which means that there's a good chance that a lot of photos might turn out underexposed, but I'm not sure yet because I haven't tried yet. It could be because of the processing time, I don't know. But at this, like in the blind eye, my images look a little bit thinner. So I'm curious to know why it's like that, or is it gonna appear on my film, the actual final result in the very end. So you're gonna see it at the very end after that. So I hope you like this video. If so, this is not a perfect development process. As you can see that I followed all the rules and everything, but there is less contrast on my film. Is that probably because that I changed film developer, or is it because I underexposed while I was taking the photo? Is it because the development time was low? Is it because the deletion that I've done is not good enough? Don't know. Or is it just there in the film and the final result gonna be just fine? I don't know that either. I have to see it. You're gonna see it because you're lucky, because I have to dry it first and then I have to scan it after. So thank you for watching, and I see you in the next videos. Bye bye.